Hello, and a warm welcome to the 8th Net Zero event hosted by Alfa Laval. The event is titled Accelerating the Shift from Fossil to Circular Carbon, and throughout this broadcast we will explore how we accelerate the transition. My name is Paul MacDonald and I'm your host today and the owner of World Biomarkets. I have a passion for industrial biomanufacturing and the wider bioeconomy, and my business is focused on driving the commercialisation of the sector. Our flagship event, World Biomarkets, takes place in June in The Hague, and you're all very welcome to join. As you may know, carbon is the cornerstone of most plastics, chemicals and fuels, and today more than 93% of transportation fuel and 95% of plastic comes from fossil sources, which is clearly not sustainable. Today I'm visiting Alfa Laval to meet with experts on renewables and circular carbon to discuss how we can break this dependence on fossil fuel and how we accelerate the implementation and scaling of solutions that are already available. So stay tuned for an interesting session where some of the first movers in defossilization describe their initiatives in bio-based plastic, clean fuels and tyre recycling.
Decarbonisation is critical. We all know this. Green electricity and green hydrogen will replace finite fuels based on fossil feedstocks, and the wheels will keep on turning. On our cars, at least. But there's one question that doesn't get the attention it deserves. Because when we remove fossil feedstocks, we also remove carbon. And carbon is used for much more than filling up. Carbon is actually the key molecule in almost everything. So the question is, how do we keep the wheels spinning in all industries?
Today, we rely almost exclusively on fossil feedstock. Take plastic, for example. Of the 450 million tons produced annually, less than 1% is made from renewable sources. To meet future demands, we will need to move from a linear consumption to a circular system that can handle multiple renewable carbon sources at scale. The biggest source will come from recycled carbon, and it won't be enough to recycle plastic. We will need advanced recycling plants that can handle a wide range of material to reach the estimated 55%. We will also rely heavily on biocarbon and captured carbon, both of which will require a massive scale-up from today's levels. These carbon resources all require different process solutions to be handled in a sustainable way, but they all have two things in common. They all rely on advanced downstream separation and efficient energy integration. Both are keys in order to reach high product recovery, high product purity, and an optimized use of water and energy. The good thing is that great downstream separation technologies are available today. And even better, Alfa Laval has been optimizing them for almost a century. So even if the renewable carbon industry is young, we already have more than 70 years of experience with the separation technologies needed to make this happen. There's no denying that the switch from fossil carbon will take massive amount of work. But it's no longer a matter of how, it's a matter of when. And at Alfa Laval, we are ready to make this happen today.
Today I'm delighted to be joined by Karen Forsberg and Elg Olm-Larsen from Alfa Laval. I thought it would be really nice for them to do a little bit of scene setting before we speak to their industry friends later on in the event. Karen, lovely to see you again and appreciate you hosting this really important event for us. If I could get you first of all just to explain why net zero and defossilization is important to Alfa Laval.
Thank you, Paul, for hosting me. Well, net zero is very important to Alfa Laval, as we are both a producer and industrial company producing stuff, and we have a commitment to net zero. Firstly, we committed, as everyone else, to become net zero with scope 1 and 2 by 2030. Then last summer we sat down and said, okay, what would it take to become net zero earlier? And then we did some calculations on how much do we need to invest, and we came to the conclusion that we could actually prepone net zero until 2027. So actually we really want to live as we learn, and when it comes to net zero. But net zero is much more to us because it's important to our customers, and we can be an important enabler for our customers, for them to become net zero by introducing our technologies in their production processes. And personally, I'm excited that we now have reached a level of maturity that we are not only talking about net zero carbon dioxide, but we are also bringing in the net zero water and the net zero waste into the talk, and that is rising for the policymakers as well as for our customers, because becoming truly circular, you really need to factor in the water and the waste and the materials and really start to talk about the circularity of things and the circularity of carbon, which will play an important role for this talk today.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to ask, how are the team excited by going from 2030 to 2027? It doesn't seem too far away, and you know, it's a big challenge.
No, actually not, because being an innovation company with now 140 years of age, young age, constantly innovating for the technologies and the industrial processes of the time. So over the years, our portfolio is very fit and geared to actually bring circularity and net zero thinking into our customers. So most of the technology already exists, and that is also how we can demonstrate that, okay, we can do it just by having a commitment, we can do it earlier on.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that. I think we're going to talk a lot today about technology that already exists. I also love 140 years young, so that's a great way of framing the business. And Elga, if I can maybe bring you into the conversation, what are your thoughts on this transition and how you go about it?
Thank you, Paul. Well, first of all, approach is important, just like Karen said, and in particular when we speak about less mature renewables. It's important to strike a balance. You have to be ambitious, but you also have to be sustainable. You need to be able to keep this up for the long run. If you do too little, nothing will happen. And if you push all the buttons at the same time, then you only create confusion. So you have to think focus, you have to think alignment, you have to think commitment, you have to think industrial scalability. And then if you combine that with the best-in-class tools and equipment, then you have the recipe for success. So basically, it's not magic. It is basically just requires collaboration, and that is the subject of our talks today.
Yeah, okay, and I think that word collaboration is going to come up a lot over this today's event. Well, listen, what an excellent way to set the scene for the rest of the event, and I look forward to meeting a lot of your industry friends that we have coming up. So Elga and Karen, thank you very much for your time and your insights in that scene setting, and I shall see you again very soon. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
So the next part of this important event is going to explore defossilization and the transition into carbon sources of the future. In the studio, I have two experts and friends of mine with me. Firstly, I have Michael Karras. Michael has over 30 years' experience in this space and is founder of both Nova Institute and in 2022, the Renewable Carbon Initiative. The RCI now has nearly 60 members from the chemical and associated industries. Welcome, Michael. Also with me today is Karen Forsberg from Alfa Laval. Karen has been in the business for over 10 years and is the Vice President of the Energy Division. So, a little scene setting before we go, Michael. Chemicals, fuels and plastics are part of our daily lives. In fact, more than 500 million tonnes of plastics are consumed every year. More than 98% of it is fossil-based. To achieve net zero, we must switch from the carbon base from fossil to 100% renewable sources by 2050. An additional challenge is that economic growth will boost plastic consumption to more than 1 billion tonnes by the end of this period. So, Michael, if I can come to you first. You and your team have been working on this subject of defossilization for 30 years. What does the future look like? What can be required? And please introduce your objectives, please.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. In contrast to the energy sector, where in many cases we can substitute carbon-based fuels by electricity, by hydrogen or other sources, the chemical, the plastic industry needs carbon. There is no way to make all the plastics around without carbon. And defossilization means that we avoid to use virgin fossil from the ground, but we switch to bio-based carbon or carbon from CO2 capture or recycled carbon. If the products are in the technosphere, we can recycle it and also keep the carbon in the loop. This is a challenge of the future. And as you said, today we have about 95–98% fossil, so a long way to go. But we have the technologies today, we have the knowledge, we need the policy framework to go ahead.
Okay. And I suppose we're fairly clear on where we are, where we want to be by 2050. The big question is, how is that transition going? Are we on track according to Nova Institute and your predictions?
The question is, who is we? Maybe look globally. In US, there was on track till last Monday.
Okay.
China is I think, is on track. They have clear targets to replace fossil carbon. India comes strong. The European Union is a little bit behind in the chemical and plastic sector. They're focused more on energy and fuels. But in RCI, Renewable Carbon Initiative, we're working strongly to help this Commission to find the right framework to allow the transformation, because it's not only a question of sustainability, it's also staying competitive and keep the companies in Europe. This is a double challenge, and we will present very soon a tool set of instruments how this can work.
Okay, and you do a lot of predictions on the plastic market around the world. What are the sort of underlying trends and differences in some of the regions?
Yeah, globally we have almost the same plastic picture, but some differences are coming due to the framework. So some countries like China, Malaysia, Taiwan, India, they are more also on biodegradable plastics. And so there is more investment and market introduction of biodegradable plastics compared to Europe. So there are some small differences, but if Europe is not taking up this transformation, then we will see more differences between the different areas in the world in the future. But I hope that Europe will make the right decision soon, that we can also hurry up to use new polymers with lower environmental impacts.
Okay, thank you. Karen, you have the tough job of following Michael. As you reflect on some of the scenarios from Nova Institute, would you explain the perspective that Alfa Laval has on defossilization of renewable materials? Yeah,
I would say first I want to start with a personal note. I mean, this is so important that we move away from make waste into the circular carbon, and it's for the future of the planet and our children and grandchildren. So I think it should be a purpose for every single person. But if I put myself in the shoes of the business, this is of course a huge business opportunity. Just imagine it's a big ecosystem, an industrial ecosystem of materials that's built on fossil feedstocks that need to be rebuilt, and that is of course a huge business opportunity for Alfa Laval, who is actually supplying technologies to those industries. And if we look more specific, if we tune in a bit more, I mean, we can see that we have a big role to play into the main processes with all our equipment, but also in the utility processes in order to make them more circular and also extract more value from waste.
And I think I've got time for one quick final question. Pyrolysis. What's the role of pyrolysis in your business in the future and the wider challenge?
Yeah, actually, the more I learn about it, I mean, we see that that recycled waste will, according to the projections, will stand for 55%-ish. Yep. And you can all just travel around in the world and see the piles of unsorted waste. So I really believe that that pyrolysis will play a big role, just because you cannot really sort everything that's there. Of course, it's energy intensive and you lose some of the carbon, but I think that is going to play a major role, because it's a simpler way than that you have so much raw materials piled up already.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you very much for that insight. We could talk for a lot longer than we have, but thank you so much to Michael and Karen for their insights, and look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Francesco Montecchio, and I am an Alfa Laval separation technology expert. In the last few years, several new routes have been developed to produce renewable polymers. The journey begins with upstream pretreatment of renewable feedstock. Then these feedstocks are converted into renewable polymers. Several new technologies are used, and for example, fermentation using microorganisms, or applying high temperature and pressure in pyrolysis and gasification. The next step in the process is downstream separation, and here is where our separation solutions can add a great value. We can help to recover products, minimize losses, and ensure a high product purity while using as little energy and water as possible. While renewable polymer production is relatively new, Alfa Laval has more than 70 years of experience in similar processes.
We now turn our attention to a subject very close to my heart, the importance of partnerships. Joining me in the studio, both physically and remotely, to share their pearls of wisdom are Ryan Adolphson from RWDC and Elgolm Larsen from Alfa Laval. A little bit of scene setting before I come to you, Ryan. So the development of fossil-based chemicals, fuels and plastics took place over many years, and the necessary expertise was built incrementally. Today, the demands on products are much more stringent. The competition is global, and the technologies are much more complex. Defossilization cannot be done by one company alone, and so the way to succeed is via partnerships. Ryan, great to meet you for the first time, and thank you for joining us all the way from Athens in Georgia, America, where I recently discovered was where REM and the B-52s were formed. Anyway, as a technology developer, how would you describe the importance of partnerships? How do you seek a partnership? And how do you know at what level to enter into that collaboration?
Yeah, Paul, thank you. That's it's a great question, and you're right. As we look to this new energy infrastructure and new partners, and getting out of the petroleum space, that world has a 100-year head start on us, and there's a lot for us to do. At RWDC, we feel that partnerships are exceptionally important for us, and we've got a big job ahead of us. Our mission is to improve the lives and work of people, and we do that by replacing plastic with a natural material. We feel that we're protecting our planet and the people that live on it by doing that. And one of the key ways we can do that as a small company to help us reach that goal is to partner with others who align with our mission and have the same values and goals that we do. Ultimately, we view collaboration as a two-way street. It multiplies innovation, it multiplies impact, and it creates that enduring values for all the stakeholders, and we all benefit from that shared success.
Briefly, what would you say are the major risks or red flags to be aware of before entering into a marriage?
Yeah, that's right. A marriage is a good maybe term for it, and maybe we could borrow another term of a courtship, so there's that time, that get to know you period, that I think is critical and important. And sometimes that starts off as a simple customer supplier type relationship, sometimes in other ways, but identifying those interests in common, finding the places where you can help and add value. We spend some time considering partnerships. Again, as a smaller company, we are careful to take on partnerships with other small companies, but certainly with the big global players around the world. Some of those folks are our customers, some of them are our suppliers, but all of them in some way are our partners, as we're all looking to move to this next generation petroleum-free or plastic-free economy that many of us are striving for. So the big red flags, there are many out there, but most of which are allayed, if you will, if we find common ground and we really spend time looking at those common goals together and remember that we're adding value to both sides. That's important.
Thank you. I think a couple of things you said there brings in Elgar very nicely when you're sort of redefining how we term people. It's maybe not as simple as supplier, buyer, partner, etc. So, Elgar, I'm interested. What is the Alfa Laval approach to partnerships within renewables?
Certainly. Thank you. As a matter of fact, many of the points I'm going to mention today aligns very well with what Ryan says. So basically, from our perspective, collaboration, partnerships, whatever word you use, that is very important, especially when we speak about transformation or less mature technologies and products. And the basic premise is pretty much like Ryan says. If you go it alone, you are less likely or maybe unlikely to succeed. So when we enter a partnership, we basically leverage all the relevant design tools, our laboratory facilities, a full range of testing equipment. And as a partner, this means that you get access to best in class, that you get access to proven industrial technology and tools. And that is unique if you are in a early stage startup company. It allows you to punch above your weight scale. So basically, by partnering with us, you can cut cost, you can cut risk, you can maybe easily obtain finance because there's some effort, basically our competences help you do that, and it improves your chance of being first to market. So what we look in terms of partnerships, collaborations, is, of course, in this space, it is technology developers, it's licensors, and pretty much like Ryan says, we look for long-term engagement, we look for fit, for instance, in the value chain, we look for mutual impact, it needs to do a difference, what we do, and then we look for the commitment, and the commitment must be mutual, two ways. So where do we do that? Well, basically, we are lucky enough to have our brand. We have our installed base that generates a lot of interest, but also we join innovation conferences like your own Bio-Innovation Conference in Omaha. We also have joined the Renewable Carbon Initiative, and then we do initiatives like this Net Zero event. And our partnership with RWDC have been proven very successful over the last couple of years, and we're actually looking to use that experience in other areas as well. So this is how we see the future for partnerships.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think we could talk about partnerships. Yeah, I mean, it's such a sort of interesting sort of subject to really dive into. We don't have any sort of more time, but I think one of the things you just said, just to finish on, is punching above your weight. I love that. That's a great sort of strapline for partnerships, right? Helping you punch above your weight, because we all want to do that. Anyway, I know we're running out of time. So, Ryan, thank you so much for your time today. It's great to see you. I look forward to seeing you again. Elgar as well. Thank you for your time.
You.
May I wish you both the best for the rest of the year. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Plastics are an essential part of modern life, but how we produce them is going to change dramatically. The technology, for producing plastics without fossil feedstock is already available and prepared for scaling up. In 5 years, bioplastics production capacity is expected to double, with nearly 66% of it being biodegradable. Driving this transformation are processes like biomass or CO2 fermentation, thermochemical conversion, and plastics recycling. These processes require high thermal efficiency and precision. Alfa Laval's plate heat exchangers are designed with unique innovations to meet these needs. OmegaPort, Curve Flow, and Flex Flow guarantee maximized efficiency, minimized energy use, and extended operational time. Moreover, our proven technology in industrial fermentation and petrochemicals, along with our global presence and service offerings, will deliver reliability and peace of mind. If you share our commitment to circularity in bioplastics, contact us to learn how we can partner for success.
So the Bio Partnership baton has now been handed over to Peter Plug from AFRI and Ruth Bautista from Alfa Laval. Peter, nice to meet you and thank you for joining this very interesting conversation. I was interested to note that AFRI's values include being brave and thinking big, which I think lead nicely into my first question for you. So good luck. As an independent consulting firm in the energy sector, how do you support stakeholders in aligning their projects with net zero goals? Additionally, how do you view your role in guiding and collaborating with various stakeholders across the value chain to ensure the success of their projects?
Yeah, well, of course, first of all, we do that with our deep technological knowledge. And then, as you mentioned already in your question, our independence is also important. The client needs to be able to trust us that we choose those technologies and those advise those products that are really in the long-term interest of the project. And then our deep knowledge on how to manage and do the risk control in these projects and manage the different stakeholders in these projects. And we do that across all stages of the project lifecycle. Now, what is important here, we talk, what I want to stress at least, we talk here a lot about defossilization or CO2 reduction or make use of CO2. Of course, that is one of the most crucial elements in the transition towards a sustainable society. But for me, sustainability is more than that. So when we look at these projects, we also need to look at the whole value chain and also look at other things. How you get your materials. What are the labor conditions? Is there child labor involved? Are the people that work for you treated with respect? And another thing is good governance. And that's a bit the paradox. If I represent a Nordic company, Alfa Laval is a Nordic company. So here it's very easy to talk and take these things for granted. But if you have a sustainability commitment, then I think you also have the obligation to work in developing countries. And that is when you start to need to make compromises on all these things. But again, not too much. Yeah. And that is a paradox that I think we acquired to manage and how we add value in these complex projects.
I mean, I was just about to say, incredibly complex, incredibly complex. Bringing you, Ruth, into the conversation, I'm interested, does Alfa Laval have a set partnership model for working with consultants and EPCs? Yeah.
In general, we believe that working with partnerships is the best way to accelerate sustainable solutions, working with key players and stakeholders within energy efficiency, clean tech, and circularity. And then, we are committed to establish strong long-term partnerships with these key players so we can work together and share our knowledge and experience, and by doing so, finding solutions to the complexity of this area that we're talking today about. And then we follow this partnership model as well with consultants and EPC customers, working together with them throughout the entire cycle of the projects, but paying special attention to the early phases of the projects, where that's where optimizations in the processes can be done best and in the best way. And then, also working together throughout the execution phase and the working life of the project. We believe that working together is the best way to boost innovation in sustainable solutions.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that collaboration, long-term partnership, working together has come up so much today, because if you want to make change, you can't just talk about change, you actually need to put some of your previous things to one side to make it happen.
Well, and this is also an important thing when we work internationally. We try to pay a lot of attention or make a lot of effort also in knowledge transfer. So when we work in projects, that we also very much work with local consultants and local engineers to basically transfer the knowledge that you have. Fantastic.
A great way to close, because we are transferring knowledge to the audience. So absolutely superb. So listen, thank you. That wraps up this session on sort of partnerships. So Peter, thank you very much for your time. Ruth, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to see you again soon, and good luck for the rest of the year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Recycling via Pyrolysis enables the conversion of low waste streams such as plastics, tires and bio-waste into new materials, making Pyrolysis the dominant recycling technology for the future. Pyrolysis is a thermal process that utilizes high temperature and pressure to convert waste into pyrolyzed products such as gas, liquids and solids. Alfa Laval's core technologies, such as distack separators and heat exchangers, play a crucial role in optimizing the production and upgrading of the pyrolyzed product, like the decontamination and treatment of the pyrolyzed oil, preventing fouling of the viscous fluids and utilizing waste in a smart way. By recycling carbon, we will not solve all the problems with the waste we generate today. However, we have an opportunity to take great steps towards a defossilized future. At Alfa Laval, we are committed to circular carbon.
Change is not without challenge, and in this session we explore some of the barriers that need to be overcome to shift from fossil to circular carbon. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Christophe from Contec and Anne-Marie from Alfa Laval. Welcome. A little scene setting, if I may, before I put you both on the spot. So, habits are hard to break. Single-use plastic and long-range combustion engines are undeniably convenient, but the true cost of the fossil economy is dawning on us, and we have to agree on how to handle the shift to circular carbon before it's too late. Governments and international organisations must define reasonably level playing fields. So, Christophe, coming to you first of all, nice to meet you. I was interested to learn that the Contec vision includes using recycled and recovered resources to significantly lower emissions in the manufacturing industry. A fantastic objective and vision. What are the main challenges that you are facing on your journey to achieve this quest?
Okay, thank you, Paul, for having me here. And the main challenge for the industry, I think, is like a classical chicken-egg paradox. Because we need large scale to create strong business cases, and still we need small success stories to grow, secure funding and build capacities the industry needs. Because demand is there, but there is still a bit of reluctance from the big players to really go in for the volumes. And it was a really long journey to start smaller with pioneers, with tire manufacturers, with big chemical players and leaders. And the second part is the perfectionism. I think it's the biggest challenge because, you know, we handle variable waste that nobody wants, and we're no wizards, but we try to turn them into really sustainable consistent, compliant products that can be used in sustainable manufacturing. Yeah. So the challenge was to convince the clients that there's some part of the work on their side as well, because if we are handling waste, it's not sometimes a drop-in solution for their already fossil products. So they need to tweak a bit here and there. And I'm very happy to say most clients are getting past these difficult times, and there's a huge load of acceptance. And every success story of us or our competitors, we're happy to hear that, because the industry needs success stories to grow, to create the capacity what is needed right now.
Thank you, Christoph. I'm also interested how end users and the wider market are reacting to your proposition and your products.
Okay, so at the beginning they thought the products are inferior, not consistent, expensive, not available in industrial quantities. So they thought it was really not that interesting for them. But I'm very glad that together with our partners, we can change mindsets actually. Yeah. So right now they know, our clients know that the product performs, they have price advantage, and you can order not a kilo or two, but a truck or two, or a couple of trucks per month. So it's available, and I think that's really great. So if it's cheaper, if it performs fine, if it has 5 times lower carbon footprint than the virgin counterpart, what is your excuse not to buy it?
Yeah. So it's demystifying those historical myths. Great, thank you very much. Anne-Marie, if I can bring you into the conversation, please. Is the shift to circular carbon sufficiently well defined, accepted and actionable?
There are 3 questions in your question.
Always.
I'll start with the definition. And I would say I think it's important to understand that there is no chemical without a carbon molecule. And I think that's the first part I want to emphasize. And there is untapped opportunities behind waste, and I would say the whole idea is actually to recover the carbon molecule above the ground on waste in order to make a feedstock. And I think it's very important to realize and recognize, I would say, the importance of waste as a feedstock. And it's even more important because you see it's in the transition. It's an inevitable step in the transition from fossil to a clean molecule. And I think that people need to realize it. In circular carbon molecule, when we speak daily, it means scientist, and it's not, I would say, defined for you and me as a consumer. I always use the words zero to hero, just to explain in simple words how important and essential is waste as feedstock for our future. It's for me an inevitable step. When you come to shift and actionable, I think about 2 things. One is the technology and the time to market. If you look from a technology perspective, there are around 200 chemical recycling producers and technology providers in the world. So as a consequence, you can say there are technologies viable. They are here today. When you speak about time to market, that's where my daily work is concerning about boosting the industrialization journey. And that's very important. So one of our support is to boost the scale-up journey to industrialization, because you need a viable technology to be commercialized. That's vital. But you also need to look into, I would say, the waste stream, and also to increase the diversity of your product as a second step. So to come over again, technology is available, but the industrialization need a boost. Yeah. And that's where we, at Alfa Laval, we are supporting in our daily work.
And I think that's a great zero to hero should probably be the title of this session, or the title of the transition, right? So I think that's fantastic. So listen, we could talk a lot more about this subject, but that's a great sort of insight from the both of you. So that wraps up the session. Christoph, thank you very much. Anne-Marie, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I wish you all the very best and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
As the world is transitioning away from fossil fuels, new and renewable alternatives are gaining in popularity. These are usually produced by hydrotreating different feedstocks, such as vegetable oil, animal fat, or even used cooking oil. Demand in the market is growing rapidly, and many companies are considering entering this market. If you are planning to invest in renewable fuels, this video is for you. We will help you and show you how to optimize your processes and maximize your return on your investment, whether you are planning to co-process in an existing unit, revamp an existing hydrotreater, or even build a completely new greenfield facility. Switching to welded plate heat exchangers can also lead to significant capex savings. Thanks to the compact size and low flooded weight compared to shell and tube solutions, you reduce costs for both heat exchangers and infrastructure when using welded plate heat exchangers. However, the biggest savings are often made on surrounding equipment of different types. For example, maximizing heat recovery in a feed bottom interchanger often makes it possible to reduce the size of the reboiler, or in the case of upgrading the plant, to increase capacity without having to invest in a new reboiler. The same applies to cooling systems in the process. The more energy recovered, the lower the capacity required. For new plants, this means fewer coolers and lower capex. And in existing plants, it makes it possible to increase capacity using available equipment.
I now bring in Melissa from Topso and Vivica from Alfa Laval into the conversation. Melissa, your company has a rich heritage, 84 years, I think, of making a positive difference to the world, and you would certainly have come up against your fair share of challenges on that journey and on that quest. I'm interested, what are the key elements to make the innovative processes work for recycling and closing the carbon cycle?
Thanks, Paul. An interesting question, a very difficult one to answer. I'll do my best. Well, you know, we are a technology provider, but I would say I'll try to provide an answer that goes for any company bringing new technologies to the market to address the challenges. Ultimately, some of it is generic, right? Every time you are trying to develop a new technology, scale it up, you need to think about, okay, where are my risks? What are the critical features I'm trying to demonstrate? How do I want to take the scale up? In what steps? And so on. And then you have an additional layer in this new space, right? With new feedstocks, you're creating new value chains. You have new dependencies in terms of technologies, kind of leaning on each other, which you did not really have in the fossil world. And I would say it's really critical to have dialogues. A lot of people say partnerships, but ultimately it's like relationships. They don't need to be formalized partnerships. It's a dialogue across the value chain so that you can really identify, okay, you know, where are the barriers lowest for solving some of the things? How do I ensure the seamless integration? How do I build maybe new things that are missing? How to avoid gaps and overlaps, right? And another thing which is a little bit maybe softer and not really directly related to what Topso does or any other technology provider really thinks necessarily as the first thing, but is this systemic approach, right? Trying to do no harm with whatever you bring to the market as a new process or new technology, trying to not to disrupt something else, right? Yeah. You tend to solve one problem, sometimes it creates another one, right? But thinking about that is also really important.
Yeah, and I think what you said there has come up a few times with that dialogue, knowledge exchange, transfer of knowledge, which is what this event is about as well, right? So I think it's absolutely key. And what would you say? What are the biggest risks to the transition? You know, what are the risks to slowing down the transition?
Well, you have this, you know, chicken and egg problem, which is very familiar, right? You have, you need to build to go down in cost, right? To go up in scale, get the lessons learned, get on that very steep learning curve. Yet, obviously, it comes with risks, it comes with cost. So we tend to punish the first movers, right, as an environment. So it really is a problem, you could say, and a challenge where then attributing a specific speed to the energy transition is very, very risky. But ultimately, it's also a little bit about accepting that the cost parity, even when the cost of these new solutions goes down, will probably never be achieved with fossil. So you need to have certain drivers in place which either put the burden on the fossil carbon or try to mandate sustainable carbon content or kind of subsidize, right, the green premium. And the more ambitious those are, the faster transition we will see.
Great, thank you. And I think, Vivica, if I can bring you into the conversation and maybe zoom in on renewable fuels, what are Alfa Laval doing in this space?
Thank you, Paul. So, as we all know, there are various types of new feedstocks available today for producing refinery products. The ones that we see short-term in Alfa Laval being the most important for us is HVO, HEFA process, and the alcohol-to-jet. So as the, let's say, heat transfer expert, what we can do, we can really help our clients to optimize the energy efficiency of those processes. If we begin with the HVO process, starting with the pretreatment unit, we can offer turnkey solutions for these, which allows our clients to maximize the flexibility in terms of which feed they can treat, while at the same time having preserve the catalyst for as long as possible. If we move to the, let's say, HVO processes themselves, especially for the low-pressure fractionation part, we can optimize the fractionation efficiency. It means, again, the client will have a higher yield at a lower energy consumption. If we take the alcohol-to-jet process, here, of course, the fuel is derived from an alcohol that is in turn produced from a biomass or a biogas, waste gas. Also, these processes, the dehydration, the oligomerization, etc., are endothermic, energy-consuming processes. So again, energy efficiency will be key. And not only, of course, the alcohol-to-jet processes themselves, also the supporting units like the hydrogen production unit and the wastewater here as well.
Okay, thank you. So great advantages of working with Alfa Laval.
Of course.
Of course. Well, listen, thank you. That wraps up. We could talk for a lot longer, I'm sure, but I think it's really important that everybody involved in this space understands the challenges because that will help the direction of travel that we go on. So to my guests, Melissa and Vivica, thank you very much for your time, and I wish you well for the rest of the year. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome to what I think is possibly the most important session of this event, where we talk about resilience and dedication required for the transition. With me today I have Tillen for Life Retires and Ulrich from Quassia Technologies. So Tillen and Ulrich, the task of defossilization will be as complex as society itself. A range of technologies and materials will have to be developed. So, a few questions to the both of you, if I may. You are both engaged in different parts of the circular carbon industry, but you are united in your quest to overcome business as usual. Tell me how your dedication came about and your thoughts about the transition in your area. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. So Quassia Technologies is founded on the basis of technology. So it's really built on a groundbreaking discovery on being able to convert any type of lignocellulosic material into a carbon-neutral bio-oil. And we're just realizing how many vast applications that actually has. And we see that we can really make a true global large-scale impact on defossilizing society. So that's quite attractive and interesting and really gets us going. You could say the use and the applications, they are in these hard-to-abate sectors. We can service the maritime sector with our bio-oil, and also, as an example, sustainable aviation fuel, and more to come.
And Tillen, to you, the same question?
Yeah, thank you very much first for having me. Yeah, in Life for Tires, the dedication came from realizing that model, which is business as usual, is not working anymore. It's not sustainable. So for that reason, most of the traditional industries really see waste as a problem, and we see it as a resource. So we are transforming waste tires into the biofuels feedstock, recovered carbon black and steel, and bringing the 100% waste into 100% sustainable commodities. And I believe there is one main thing in this industry is circular economy cannot exist without profitability. So I believe we have, in the business, we always need to have two greens. First is the sustainability, and the second one is the added value for the shareholders and investors.
And I'm interested, again, to both of you, at what part did you have that light bulb moment, that reflection point, where you knew you were on to a good thing or a positive thing? What advice would you give to anyone else that is sort of starting that journey?
I think for us, the realization that we can actually produce our carbon neutral bio-oil at the same cost of procuring conventional fossil oil, so that's approximate $500–600 per ton, this really makes a difference. And this is a unique thing of Kvasir and our process, and really demonstrates the strength and also the competitiveness. This will unlock a whole new range of customers. Not just the ones that actually wants to go first and defossilize their companies. So this will have a real potential of a global impact to really defossilize the whole system. So this is very, very attractive and really makes a difference. It's not just green; it's also competitive on the cost side.
And Tillen, where was your moment?
Yeah, I believe when we started with the investment project, nobody really talked about circular economy. Everyone was like saying, "Oh, we're investing in green technology." So that changed. Let's say what the main thing I believe in change in the last year is there is a lot of institutional investors which have allocated, let's say, 7 years, 8 years ago, only 20 million. Now we're talking about billions. And you see that everyone is focused, market demand on the sustainable commodities is very high, as my colleague said. So everyone wants your product. So you see a lot of multinational corporations arriving to your plant and asking you when your product will be ready and if you can deliver them. And I believe that's one of the main points. The second thing as well is really the policy. Policy is developing, and Europe is leading that transition. And the third point, which I believe it's really the public awareness. It's like we want to change. We want to use the more sustainable products, and big oil and gas guys, chemical industry, just following that. And I believe that's the three main points.
Yeah, okay, great. Gentlemen, thank you very much. So Ulrich and Tillen, thank you for your insights. It's great to see you today, much appreciated. And I wish you all the best for the rest of the year. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Thank you very much.
So that's a wrap on what has been a great 8th Net Zero event by Alfa Laval. Thank you to Alfa Laval for hosting, and to all of my guests. I have had a wonderful time chatting to a range of highly respected, qualified and passionate bio-pioneers about how we accelerate the shift from fossil to circular carbon. Thank you very much for watching, and see you all in June at World Biomarkets.